Hey guys, welcome to the Reparenting Daily podcast, your daily guide for inner child healing. This podcast helps you establish a consistent reparenting routine, and it's divided into 3 sections. The first is a daily reading, the second is a discussion of that reading, followed by suggested journal prompts, and the last section is a peaceful meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whenever and wherever you're joining us. I'm so glad that you could join us here on this journey of self-expansion and growth. If this is your first time, welcome. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to again remind us of the congratulations of passing the 500 episode marker. And as a celebration of that, I've opened up the Patreon community for free membership so that people can join our Zoom calls for free. There are a lot of people struggling out there. There's a lot going on. So I thought this could be a way to provide some help and, to give some thanks for all the support that I've received so far. You can also choose if you'd like to be a paid Patreon member, and that will help me to subsidize some of the costs and expenses that I have for this project. I'm still running this out of my own pocket, so it's about $2,000 to $5,000 a year that it costs me to produce this actually. So I'm not really making money from this. It's something that I'm doing for myself and hopefully to be able to help others. And so I'm coming from a genuine place here. The second thing that I'd like to remind you is that you can also find the Reparenting Daily Journal. You can purchase that on Amazon. It's another way to support the podcast. It's under $20. And it basically allows you to follow along with all of the monthly and weekly themes. It gives you space to keep your notes. And yeah, if you join the team or the Zoom calls, it might be a great way for us to all stay aligned and be working together. The last thing I'd like to give you a head up on is the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily series. As I mentioned earlier, I've had some editing issues with that because in the springtime, the end of spring, I did some reworking to structure those into certain themes. So like the beginning, middle, and end of the hero's journey. And in the midst of reorganizing and restructuring the stories and also upgrading the artwork, some of the text is a bit mixed and jumbled all over the place. Sorry about that. When I was in the editing phase for the first time, they did not send the proofread copies to the Netherlands, and so I had to work, around and trying to find a way to get the copy to edit, and it's just been a mess. So basically, that's going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to aim to have that done by the end of the year, but I have burned my eyes, so I am very limited. Excuse me, with what I can do and time I spent on the computer. And so I would have had that done much earlier. I would have liked to have that already done, but here we are. And so in any case, once that's available, again, I'll give you a heads up, but please do hold off on purchasing the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily for now. Or Fairy Tales for Reparenting series, not the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily. That's it today. So without further ado, let's dive into today's practice. Today's reading is from Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD. We're going to be reading from Chapter 10, Expressing Anger Fully. This is a reminder we're in September, and the theme is Emotional Intelligence. We're in week 4, which is September 22nd until the 30th. And the theme for this month, or this week rather, is strengthening social and communication skills. Expressing anger fully. The subject of anger gives us a unique opportunity to dive more deeply into NVC, because it brings many aspects of this process into sharp focus. The expression of anger clearly demonstrates the difference between NVC and other forms of communication. I would like to suggest that hitting, blaming, hurting others, whether physically or emotionally, are all superficial expressions of what is going on within us when we are angry. If we are truly angry, we would want a much more powerful way to fully express ourselves. This understanding comes as relief to many groups I work with that experience oppression and discrimination and want to increase their power to effect change. Such groups are uneasy when they hear the terms nonviolent or compassionate communication, because they have so often been urged to stifle their anger, calm down, and accept the status quo. They worry about approaches that view their anger as an undesirable quality, needing to be purged. This process we are describing, however, does not encourage us to ignore, squash, or swallow anger, but rather to express the core of our anger fully and wholeheartedly. Distinguishing stimulus from cause. The first step in fully expressing anger in NVC, nonviolent communication, is to divorce the other person from any responsibility for our anger. We rid ourselves of such thoughts as he or she or they made me angry whenever they did that. Such thinking leads us to express our anger superficially by blaming or punishing the other person. Either we saw the behavior of others to may be a stimulus for our feelings, but not the cause. We are never angry because of what someone else did. We can identify the other person's behavior as the stimulus. But it is important to establish a clear separation between stimulus and cause. I'd like to illustrate the distinction with an example from my work with a Swedish prisoner. My job was to show prisoners who had behaved in violent ways how to fully express their anger rather than to kill, beat, or rape other people. During an exercise calling on participants to identify the stimulus of their anger, one prisoner wrote, "3 weeks ago I made a request to the prisoner officials, and they still haven't responded to it." His statement was a clear observation of a stimulus, describing what other people had done. I then asked him to state the cause of his anger. "When this happened, you felt angry because what?" "I just told you," he exclaimed. "I felt angry because they didn't respond to my request." By equating stimulus and cause, he had tricked himself into thinking that it was the behavior of the prison officials that was making him angry. This is an easy habit to acquire in a culture that uses guilt as a means of controlling people. In such cultures, it becomes important to trick people into thinking that we can make others feel a certain way. Where guilt is a tactic of manipulation and coercion, it is useful to confuse stimulus and cause. As mentioned earlier, children who hear, "It hurts mommy and daddy when you get poor grades," are led to believe that their behavior is the cause of their parents' pain. The same dynamic is observed among inmate partners. "It really disappoints me when you're not here for my birthday." The English language facilitates the use of this guilt-inducing tactic. We say, "You make me angry. You hurt me by doing that. I feel sad because you did that." We use our language in many different ways to trick ourselves into believing that our feelings result from what others do. The first step in the process of fully expressing our anger is to realize that what other people do is never the cause of how we feel. So what is the cause of anger? In Chapter 5, we discussed the 4 options we have when confronted with a message or behavior that we don't like. Anger is generated when we choose the second option. Whenever we are angry, we are finding fault. We are choosing to play God by judging or blaming the other person for being wrong or deserving punishment. I would like to suggest that this is the cause of anger, even if we are not initially conscious of it. The cause of anger is located within our own thinking. Thank you. And that's the reading for today. Now, this section of the reading of the text, Nonviolent Communication, reframes anger, not as something to suppress or vent destructively, but as a guidepost, pointing us to our unmet needs. Traditional responses to anger, such as blaming, shaming, or hurting others, are only superficial expressions. True expression and release of anger in nonviolent communication, also known as NVC, means going deeper, recognizing that while other people's actions may stimulate our anger, they are never the cause. The real cause lies in our own thinking of blame and judgment. This text distinguishes between stimulus, what others do, and cause, our interpretations and unmet needs. When we confuse the two, we often fall into guilt dynamics, manipulation, or misplaced blame. Fully expressing anger requires shifting from judgment, "they made me angry," to awareness. I am angry because of my need for respect, care, and honesty is not being met. In this way, anger becomes an opportunity to reconnect with life energy and our needs, instead of disconnecting into blame. For reparenting, this approach offers a healing model. Instead of repeating the patterns of parents who may have suppressed, exploded, or misdirected their anger, we learn to honor our anger as a signal of unmet needs. By expressing it fully, but without violence, we teach our inner child that their emotions matter, that their voice is valid, and that they can indeed seek healthier ways to get their needs met. As we go into the journal prompts for today, number 1, think of a recent time you felt angry. What need of yours was not being met in that situation, beneath the blame or judgment? Number 2, how do your family of origin model anger, suppression, explosion, denial, or manipulation? How does that affect your experience? How does that affect how you experience and express anger today? And number 3, what would it feel like to honor your anger as a message of your needs, rather than a dangerous or shameful emotion? That's it for today, and as always, thanks for being here. Take care of yourself, and please do be well. Welcome back, welcome back. Now, this is the third and final section of the daily podcast. This is your silent meditation. Please go ahead and find a space where you can be comfortable and undisturbed, where you can relax and spend some time with yourself for this 10-minute silent meditation. You can choose to be sitting, standing, lying down, or in whatever position makes you comfortable today. Take a moment to simply be with yourself. Focus on your breath and gently connect with each part of your body. If thoughts arise, don't let them overwhelm you. Just observe them without attachment. Imagine them as leaves drifting down atop a river, passing by without needing your engagement. Stay present, grounded, and open to this moment, no matter what time you are listening and practicing this meditation. Namaste.